mm,
that are not helping you with your depression or suicidal thoughts, be still. And
yeah.
if you're a Christian, know who God is. And if you don't know who God is, and you claim to be Christian and you're not clear about it, by all means, seek
Mm,
help from a pastor. Seek help from someone that you know
yes.
is walking in the same path that you're walking with. Because
Yeah.
once we begin to know who God is, we'll begin
Mm,
to listen more.
yes.
Okay,
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
that's just not for the suicidal person. That's for the
Mm,
person that has it all together,
yeah.
if you will, because the person that has it all together may be struck with, hey, you need to go deal with Barbara because
Mm,
she's having suicidal thoughts.
yeah.
Put all your goodness and having it all together aside for a minute,
Yeah.
and let's listen to the people that need us the most.
Absolutely.
Okay, and then when we start talking to the people that are suicidal and have depressions, we kind of sense it, like something isn't right. Like
Yeah.
I wasn't joking, but recently I was with one of my friends and he gave me my early birthday present. He knows I like knives, and I
Mm,
collect them. So he gave me a set of throwing knives and another
mm,
knife, for my early birthday present. And
mm,
I literally asked him, "Are you suicidal because you're giving everything
huh,
away?"
huh,
And he kind of looked at me. He was like, you playing off of your podcast series. No, I'm not suicidal. I'm like, okay, I'm just checking. You know,
mm.
but should we ask those questions to a suicidal person?
We absolutely should. And a lot of people think that we should not, but we absolutely should. Um, we need to do it in a way that's non-judgmental, and we treat their problems very seriously. But I have asked people, I need to ask you this really hard question. Are you thinking of harming yourself, or are you thinking of taking your life? Because like you said, giving away prized possessions is one sort of a warning sign, and we can't just sit on that and think, well, I don't dare ask them because that'll put the idea in their head. That's not accurate thinking.
Right,
Yeah. Yeah.
right. And I have a friend that suffers with it every now and again, and I'm keeping a close eye on him,
Good.
and whatnot. And just one of the questions is, and actually I told him, I said, look, if you ever make that comment again,
Hmm.
and this was me being big brother type here, and what I told him was harsh, but he knew that it was out of love and out of friendship.
Hmm.
Like,
Good.
and I told him, I said, you make that statement again, I will act and I will put you in a mental health hospital until you get the help you
Hmm.
need.
Hmm.
And he was going for a particular job, and I told him, I will destroy your career because I want
Hmm.
you to live.
Yeah. Huh.
And I'm not saying go and be that stern and that harsh with people that are suicidal, but if you have that close connection with them
Sure.
and they
Yeah.
open up to you with these problems, don't sit there and say or do nothing.
Yes.
Sit there and listen to them, yes, but
Yeah.
when it's
Absolutely.
when it's your time to speak,
Hmm.
you're right. Do not be judgmental.
Yeah.
Ask the questions, and you said it in the first episode. Do not leave this person alone.
Yeah. You bet.
And my roommate and I are pretty good with, whenever he has his depressions, we'll either go sleep at his house or we'll force him to stay here or
Hmm.
whatever. But
Hmm.
we do whatever we can to make sure he doesn't do that.
Yes. You bet.
And it's hard for me to ask these questions. Are you thinking of doing this? Are you thinking about doing that?
Yeah.
Because what should we believe about suffering?
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't know what they're going through. So what
Well,
should we believe?
well, I think there are many things in scripture. One of the more known people in the Bible that suffered was Job. And he makes an interesting statement. He says in the book of Job, shall we accept good from God and not trouble? Um, part of living, and until all of us get to heaven, has to do with suffering. And um, there's another passage that I often refer to. It has been granted to you, that means to us, to suffer for him. And, sometimes people think suffering is hopelessness. It is not. Hopelessness is when we have no hope of God or what's ahead for us. But suffering, wouldn't it be wonderful if this life had no suffering? But that's just not how it is here. That's how it will be in heaven, but that's not how it is here. So suffering is part of living. And I think what pleases God is, number one, if we go to him in the midst of our suffering. And then secondly, if we trust him. And, God isn't out to get us all to be miserable. That's not what I'm saying at all. But living in this life, there is still sin here, and sin produces suffering. And
Yeah.
so we need to recognize that.
Right. And then you wrote something in your journal, or in the book, and it kind of brought up a good question. And
Hmm.
I'm not going to read because I want people to do
Hmm.
the thing. But the question that came out of this is, what do we do when we hear, and I say we, the caregiver, hear
Hmm.
our answer?
Hmm.
Okay.
That's that's a great question. Um, I think one of the things, as you said with your friend, and we've talked about before, don't leave them alone. So, okay, if we're not going to leave them alone, what does that mean? I think we offer ourselves, not only am I here with you, but I'll sit in the silence with you. I'll listen to you. I just want to be here for you because I care about you. So, I think another thing we don't want to do, we don't want to agree to be sworn to secrecy. Now, don't you tell anybody that I'm having these thoughts, and I would not agree with that. I would probably divert my answer for a little bit until I had sat with the person for a little bit longer. But I'd rather have them have help than to go ahead and take some drastic action on their own part. So um, we need to take all of what we sense or hear from them, any kind of threat, even if it's a veiled threat, very, very seriously. So that's another thing we do. And yet again, we need to listen and listen and listen to them, and don't get tired of listening to their, sometimes we can think, oh, they're just complaining. Well, they're hurting, and they need to know that no matter what, we're going to walk
Yeah.
through this hurting with them, right beside them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So my saying is, I try my best not to lie.
Mm.
But
Yeah,
when I'm dealing with a suicidal person and they ask me not to tell anyone, I will tell
yeah,
them, "Oh, I will make the biggest lie to your face, but you know I'm going to tell someone."
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, and the simple fact that I'm honest with them, most people, even suicidal people, appreciate that.
Mhm. I think so too.
Because that lets them know, one, they're loved,
Yeah,
two, they're wanted, and
yeah,
three, we as a whole, we're not going to let you hurt yourself.
yeah.
So it answers those three questions that they're looking for. Am I wanted? Am I
Mm,
loved? Do people
mm,
like me?
mm.
And if you get one person that says, no, I'm not keeping this as a secret, you're getting help, and I'm not leaving until you do it.
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah,
gonna back down until something happens. That shows
yeah.
that person, this person really cares about me.
It really does. You bet.
All right, so we kind of talked about it already, but I want to hit this pretty hard. Why is listening so important?
Well, I think one of the main things it does, it shows our love. It shows we care, and it shows we're with them in this journey. You know, even if you've heard the story 14 times, if you're willing, non judgmentally, to sit with them and listen and listen and listen and listen, I think it really, and you already said this, Brandon, but it speaks to them, wow, they really do care about me. Um, it's, it's not that we're trying to talk them out of it. We're just listening, and then if we sense they're suicidal, we ask the direct questions, and then we get them help. And like I kind of said before, we'd rather have them mad at us than dead.
Mm-hmm.
So, we're willing to do whatever it takes to show our love by listening to them long and hard, no matter how much time it takes. We're willing to put our own life on hold because we know they need us.
Right. And I want to read something. Okay. And this is directly from her letter again.
Yeah,
All right. And it's going to be a little bit of rambling. So kind of bear with us. Okay.
yeah.
She wrote, I wish I was dead already,
Mm,
so I wouldn't have to go through the trouble of climbing the stairs.
mm, mm.
Okay. And then she puts a comma, and then she goes on and she's like tying the rope and letting myself drop.
Yeah,
If anyone ever has someone describe how they would end their life,
yeah,
please do something.
yeah.
Do something. These, like, reading her journal, I'm getting choked up, but reading her journal, her
Mm,
last, what I'm gonna say, 36 hours.
yeah,
It was, she hit a bunch of compassionate parts about the family. She hit a lot of points about why she shouldn't live anymore. She also hit a lot of points on how she's going to commit this act. All
mm,
right. And I work in the jail also, as well as I work on the road. And just this week, an inmate made the comment that he wanted to kill himself.
mm. Wow.
But he only said it because he was upset with the nurse. And
Yeah.
it's like, okay, you said it to a nurse who has a license, who has to act.
Hmm.
You said it in a correctional facility with a bunch of cops around who also
Mm.
have to act.
Yes.
So you have to get removed from the block, stripped down out of your clothing, put into a smock, is what it's called, and then
Hmm.
watched for the next 24 to 72 hours.
Hmm.
Okay, you don't make comments like that jokingly, or just to make somebody mad. You don't do that.
Yeah.
Because you get people like Kathy who are truly suffering, and
Yes.
her story isn't told, and her story isn't heard.
Yeah.
And it's those kinds of stories that we need to put at the forefront of
Hmm.
suicide prevention, not
Yes.
13 Reasons Why. Now, even though they claim to help people with suicidal thoughts, I don't think the material they're producing helps.
Yeah.
It's literally giving a license, to take your own life. Like, this girl did, I don't know how many tapes she did, but she did like a tape on each person in her life. And
Hmm.
then upon her death, those were distributed to those people.
Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm.
So now
Hmm.
you're basically asking these people to join you in death because they felt like they did such a horrible job as your
Yeah.
friend.
Yeah. Exactly. Wow.
And
Hmm.
we need to be stronger in our stance on life as a whole.
Hmm. We sure do.
So this concludes this segment of season 3, episode 2 of Listening. Now, in conclusion, we want this story to be told. Okay, so we got 10 copies to give away. I'm actually doing the first drawing Friday. Okay,
Hmm.
today. So
Hmm.
we're going to have the first drawing for this book sent out this Friday. I
Hmm.
want you guys to share this episode, share any episode from this season on your Facebook, like any episode that we post, leave us a voice message, ask us questions. We want to help. If you
Hmm.
know somebody that is suffering from suicidal thoughts or depression, call and get them help. Don't
Hmm.
leave them alone, and please keep them in your prayers. Ms. Barb, is there anything you would like to add?
I think I would just like to reiterate what Brandon and I have said over and over in this session. Listen, 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 and take all threats, even veiled threats, of somebody choosing to end their life. Take it very seriously and get them help.
Yeah, absolutely. I do agree. Ms. Barb, thank you so much for joining us for yet another episode. We will be back next week.